Today on Law Weekly, we track the reactions trailing the fallout of the NJC suspension of the Chief Judge of Rivers State. Justice Peter Agomagu has challenged his suspension, while Senior Advocate of Nigeria, OCJ Okocha, whose sister has been tipped for the position, has come out to say that he didn't influence the NJC into choosing her.
Let me ask the question. What personal gain will I have if my sister is Chief Judge?
On our interview segment, Professor of Law Itse Sage weighs in on the Rivers CJ crisis. He also sets an agenda for the national conference.
The things that are relevant are the things which will determine the mode of association between us as communities in future. How do we, as different communities and peoples, exercise power, use resources? That's all. It's a simple thing.
All this and more on this episode of Law Weekly on Channels Television. I am Shola Sheyele. Now let's begin with a recap of some of the top legal stories in the news.
The suspended CBN governor had a very busy week in court. That paid off, though, as he won his fundamental rights enforcement suit filed at the Federal High Court, Ikoyi, against the federal government, the Inspector General of Police, and the Department of State Security, DSS. The officers of the DSS had on February 20 arrested Mr. Sanusi and seized his passport at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport upon arrival from Niger Republic, where he had attended a meeting of the Central Bank Governors of ECOWAS states. This happened shortly after his removal was announced. A day after, he rushed to courts to complain that his rights were violated, his arrest was illegal, and that the continued seizure of his passport even after his release was unlawful. The court held that his detention without any allegation of commission of crime or charge amounted to restriction of his personal liberty and an unlawful violation of his rights to personal liberty. The court also found that the allegations of financing terrorism made against the suspended CBN governor were baseless. Justice Ibrahim Buba then ordered the federal government to issue a public apology to Mr. Sanusi for his unlawful arrest and the seizure of his passport. He also slammed a 50 million naira compensation fee against the federal government, the police, and the DSS. The DSS was also ordered to immediately release the passport of the suspended CBN governor, and the security agencies were restrained from further arresting him without following the due process of law. After hearing the news of the judgment the same day it was delivered, the Department of State Services, DSS, immediately declared that it was appealing the judgment. Deputy Director, Public Relations of the DSS, Marilyn Orga, says that in impounding the passport of Mr. Sanusi, the service had acted in accordance with Section 3, subsection 2b of the Instrument of the SSS No. 1, made pursuant to Section 6 of the National Security Agencies Act. The law provides that the State Security Service is empowered to impound and keep in its custody the passports or any other property of persons or organizations under investigations if considered appropriate by the Director General. The federal government, through its lawyers, filed its notice of appeal last week Friday, a day after the judgment was given. At the Court of Appeal in Lagos, the federal government is seeking the setting aside of the lower court's judgment. The federal government has filed a motion for stay of execution of the judgment pending the hearing and determination of the appeal. While the federal government was filing its notice of appeal, the suspended CBN governor was back at the Federal High Court Lagos to seek another relief. This one was aimed at halting the investigation into his tenure by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. Justice John Soho last week Friday temporarily stopped the ongoing probe being carried out by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. The FRCN is investigating Mr. Sanusi over alleged financial recklessness which occurred in CBN under his watch. In the suit, the suspended CBN governor is asking for a declaration that the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, constituting itself into an investigating body in the manner contained in newspaper advertorials of 24th of March 2014, acted ultra-vires as it lacks the powers to conduct such investigations. Justice So has ordered parties to maintain status quo and adjourn till April 11 the hearing of the preliminary objection alongside the substantive suit. Apart from the suspended CBN governor, one of the men he sacked while in office was also in court and that's talking about the former managing director of the Intercontinental Bank, Mr. Erastus Akimbola. The Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja has fixed May the 2nd to rule on an application filed by the former managing director of Intercontinental Bank. The former bank chief wants the court to dismiss the charges against him, and he is therefore challenging the jurisdiction of the state court to hear the 47.1 billion naira theft charge preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Dr. Akimbola is charged alongside his associate, Bayo Dada, for allegedly stealing 47.1 billion naira belonging to Intercontinental Bank. A former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Wole Olanipekun, who represented Dr. Akimbola in court, had told Justice Lawal Akakpo that the charges related to banking operations and operations of the capital market, matters which fall under the exclusive jurisdiction of the Federal High Court. And we round up in Ogun State, where an Abeokuta Chief Magistrate's Court in Ishabo last week Friday ordered a 21-year-old steward, David Uche, be remanded for allegedly killing his employer. The prosecutor, Inspector Bandi Shangotokun, told the court that Uche killed Mrs. Olufemilaya Timei, a 65-year-old retired magistrate, using a machete. He stated that the offense was committed on March the 28th at about 3 p.m. in one of the housing estates in Abeokuta, Ogun State. The inspector said the offense was contrary to Section 316 and punishable under Section 319 of the Criminal Code, Laws of Ogun State of Nigeria, 2008.